You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Young and the Restless fans. So this year, we have seen some true love on Y&R and also some really bad romances. And we're going to count down the worst pairings of 2025 on this CBS soap. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about the 5 couples that fans really hated this year. But first, please hit that subscribe button if you're not following us, and let's get into it. We're going to count down from number 5, which was bad, and work our way down to the number 1 worst romance of the year. All right, so number 5 on our list is Daniel and Tessa. Now, I know this is still in process, and it's probably going to drag into 2026, but it's bad. Fans have big issues with them as a couple for more than one reason. First is that she's a married woman. She is hitched to Mariah Copeland, who is going through a mental health crisis right now. And second, many fans hate that Y&R is destroying the only gay couple on the CBS soap. So a lot of viewers like Mariah and Tessa together, and they've been steady for each other. They've been loyal. They've been in love, even going down that road to adoption. Then they found out that baby Aria was diagnosed with deafness. Then they went through the process to help recover her hearing, getting those cochlear implants done. And of course, this is a soap, and on Y&R, couples always split up. Daniel is grieving Heather's death still, and he and Tessa have been on, this friendship cycle, and then it turned into a slow burn romance, but still it's dodgy. Phyllis Summers is worried about Daniel getting his heart broken, and it's just messy, and it also feels tone deaf. I mean, honestly, Young and the Restless hasn't been a hotbed of juicy romances, period, this year. Sharon and Nick were teased, and that hasn't manifested, which is frustrating. I will say, I think Daniel and Tessa are good for each other, but I prefer them as friends. Still, I suspect Daniel and Tessa may be getting a lot closer soon because Josh Griffith is, let's face it, a mediocre writer on his good days. The big question is whether Mariah is going to stay on the back burner and Tessa moves on without her and gets this divorce, or maybe Mariah gets her mental health act together, comes back and fights for her marriage. But yeah, I think Daniel and Tessa are a very problematic couple. All right, on to number 4 on our list, Chelsea and Adam. Y&R has taken 2 very complex and interesting characters, took them each out of much hotter romances, and paired them in a relationship that is frankly boring and with zero drama. Chelsea and Adam talk about their kid Connor, and they do what Victor tells them. That's what they do these days. Chelsea and Adam were interesting years ago when she was faking paralysis and framing him for a crime. And Chelsea was interesting with Billy, and Adam was on fire with passion for Sally. But he and Chelsea, that's like watching paint dry on a good day, If the head writer was more creative, Josh Griffith could probably make something interesting out of Adam and Chelsea. And I mentioned before the backstage rumor that Melissa Claire Egan is one of Josh Griffith's favorites, and she asked him to put Chelsea back with Adam. Now, whether that's true or not, the fact is Chelsea and Adam are a snooze fest. And I think as long as they are together, it's going to stay that way unless Y&R fires Josh Griffith and somebody comes in and starts, revving up the writing. So that's why they are on our worst romance list of the year. All right, number 3 on the awful romance list of 2025 is Nate and Audra. Let's be real, Nate was too good for Audra from the start. And yeah, he used to be a cheater. Nate fooled around with Elena when she was with Devon. And then he cheated on her with Victoria. But Hunky Nate has done some self-reflection. He cleaned up his act, and I think he deserves better. And Audra is not better. Now, don't get me wrong. I like her as a character. She's complex. She's gorgeous. She's sexy. She's a schemer. She's had to bootstrap her way through life. I like her character. Honestly, I'd like to see her with Adam. Audra was lying to Nate from day one. He doesn't even know Audra's real last name, by the way, which is Cortez. Plus, she and Holden were doing some shady stuff in LA that is going to catch up with her soon. And Nate is absolutely in the dark about Audra's past criminality. And then present day, Audra cut that filthy deal with Victor to seduce Kyle for a cash investment in her company. And Claire was kind of right that if Audra had succeeded, that would be prostitution. I mean, that's the definition when you swap money for sex, whether it's with you or somebody else, you know? Nate still doesn't know the extent of what Audra did with Kyle. Plus, Audra conspired with Victor to steal Glissade from Tucker, if you remember. Audra just doesn't seem to care who she hurts on her climb to the top. And I think that's why she keeps falling back down. Now, when she was with Nate, I really enjoyed the change we saw in Audra, the softer side. I liked her with Nate. I liked her bonding with Amy. But then Audra went right back to her old scheming, ruthless ways, and she basically broke Nate's heart by, plotting to seduce Kyle. And I do think Audra actually loved Nate. It's just a bummer that Audra ruined everything. I would like to see her with a schemer, and Nate seems to be on a path to get back with Victoria. All right, number 2 on the bad romance list for the year was Jordan Howard and Ian Ward. These two psychos were together in 2024, and it carried over into 2025 until Jordan kicked the bucket after Claire served her a cup of poisoned tea. And of course, Ian is presumed dead, but we know he's not. Jordan and Ian seemed like a match made in hell. They were evil, vengeful, psychotic. They wreaked havoc. They drugged Sharon, drove her half insane. They murdered Heather Stevens. And obviously, it was bad that Jordan and Ian were partners in crime. But when Young and the Restless revealed they were bed buddies too, that really upped the ick factor. It's hard to imagine any woman willingly getting with psychotic Ian. Thankfully, he and Rotten Jordan are done, but not so good as he's still alive. All right, number 1, our very worst couple of 2025 is Claire and Kyle. I don't think that Claire and Kyle's romance, honestly, was really ever healthy. Claire was innocent in matters of romance, but very skilled in revenge, lies, and treachery because that's how she was raised and she didn't know better. Meanwhile, Kyle was a spoiled brat, and I think he didn't connect with Claire in a meaningful way for the same reason that Kyle and Lola Rosales didn't work out back in the day, because Kyle is a Nepo baby born with a silver spoon in his mouth and coddled by his dad, Jack Abbott. Plus, Kyle was Claire's first relationship, her first everything, so it didn't make sense for her to settle down with Kyle. And then he got really controlling when Claire was trying to take a step back. And Kyle absolutely betrayed her with Audra. He cheated, and then he didn't listen. He didn't give her space when Claire asked for it. Instead, Kyle doubled down and proposed. And Claire said recently she felt like Kyle was trying to control her, and she had enough of that from Jordan. And at least Claire's realized she's not ready to settle down, which is what Kyle continues to push for. Plus, he's been using his son Harrison to keep Claire close. And I think it was sweet when she and Kyle first got together, but then it got more toxic when Kyle lied and he was overstepping with Audra and then trying to control Claire. So I'm hoping they're done for good. So drop your comments on who you think was the worst romance of 2025.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.